Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Return to Jesus podcast. We are back. I have Patrick here once again. We're going to go for take 2. I checked. I have plenty of storage on my computer this time, so I see no reason for it to crash. Like, what, 4 times? Did it crash 4 times?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that was a disaster. But this is going to be smooth. And for those of you that didn't tune in last week, this is my wonderful, fabulous, fantastic husband, Patrick Thompson. He is the love of my life, my best friend. We've been together since I was 17. And he was a bit older.
Yeah, let's leave it at that.
We're going to leave it at that, folks. I mean, not horribly older. But the kids think it's
Yeah, they think
weird.
it's gross.
But it's not. Like, he was a senior in high school when I was a freshman.
Yeah.
And that was super normal when we were kids. Like
in the 90s and where we grew up, yeah.
Yeah, like
maybe.
Freshmen dated. But we didn't start dating until the summer before my senior year. So, yeah. I mean, I think the kids are really making a big deal out of nothing. And it worked great for them. Hello.
Yeah.
They're alive.
They wouldn't be around.
So I feel like they should be thanking us.
Very true. We'll get on that.
Okay, but anyways, for those of you that want to hear all of the wonderful things that I said about my husband, you should really go back and listen to last week, the podcast with the mishaps, because I could go on and on about how wonderful he is. He has modeled to me throughout all of the years what real love and unconditional love and grace and just everything. He's modeled the love of Christ for me over and over and over. So I'm excited we're going to talk. And last time we talked a little bit about your personal habits and returns to Jesus throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And now we're going to go talk about grace, because this season is all about grace. We're going to talk about grace in relation to our children and our marriage. Wait. But before we do that,
yeah, we got a cliffhanger.
Whoa, I can't believe I almost forgot. We ended the last week on a cliffhanger, because that's what you do when everything is messing up and you don't know how to end. It's just Patrick's great idea, and I love it.
Everybody's been waiting, too, to find out the answer.
Yeah, seriously. They probably just like, oh, when are we going to find out?
So we asked what was the dumbest thing that we've ever done?
Yeah. But
Subjective.
then we actually decided after talking that some of the dumbest things that we've ever done might not be
suitable.
So
we will have some reasonable versions. You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay.
I mean, it is ladies first, but whatever.
I'm a guest, though.
Yeah, I forgot. You're the guest.
So
I'm the one with the headphones, so you can go first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, like, literally, what is the dumbest thing? And, you know, I've done a lot of dangerous things, and this was also dangerous, but I drank when I was 3. So again, you know, it's all relative. Obviously, when you're 3, you're doing some really dumb things. But I would go around, and this is again back in the 80s, when they had Coke bottle cases of 8, and we would store.
Oh my gosh, you're old enough that you drank out of Coke bottles.
Yes, not the the Mexican Coke that you can get in a bottle, but no, just all Coke came in a glass bottle. I think it was a pack of 8. Anyways, so my addiction to soda started really early. By 3, I was already going around and drinking the Scug left in those containers.
Is that what it's called? Is that like officially it's
That's what I'm
Scug?
calling it. That's what I'm calling it.
That's so gross.
The bottom of the Coke bottle that would be left in.
Anything called Scug.
No. Well, it's 3. So again,
okay.
back to the dumbest thing. And we would keep it out. I can remember we'd keep them out in the garage or in the basement, and it was just nasty. But again, I just went around and I would drink these. And so my oldest brother, who's actually tried to kill me a couple times, I'm sure he'll argue that. But this was his first time.
Whoa, okay. Now you're
No, we can't get into that. We can't get into that.
Of trying to murder
He knows who he is. He knows who he is.
This is not a true crime podcast, Patrick.
So,
whoa.
So he thought he would be industrious and make, I don't know why, because we didn't have rats in our house. But he made rat poison, and he made it in a Coke bottle, and that mixture contained Drano, Clorox bleach, and some other stuff. But those two were
sounds like poison.
Bad enough.
Yeah.
And so I went down and, again, drank, I'm sure it was blue. And that's where the dumb part comes in as I drink.
But you were 3. funny.
Right. So again, but 3-year-olds are pretty dumb, right? So anyways, dumbest thing.
I hope no 3-year-olds are listening. They're going to be so
Do you think
sad.
3-year-olds are part of this?
No.
I apologize, seriously, to any 3-year-old that's paying attention. So I drank it. Again, I have no recollection of this. Drank it. Luckily, my mom was home, and she's an ER nurse. I threw up on the floor. She saw the blue and immediately got me in a car. And that's that. Yeah, and I luckily, apparently, the Drano had dropped to the bottom because Drano's really heavy. And so really what I drank was bleach. So there wasn't any, I don't think I got the Drano. If I got the Drano, I would have died. So, yeah.
That's so scary.
My only recollection is I do remember like in a dreamlike state of a tube going down my throat, but that's it. So, yeah.
I'm
Miracle I'm here.
Yeah, seriously. That is so scary. And it's so great that your mom is an ER nurse so that she knew the minute that she saw you throw up the blue.
Yeah.
It's like, psh.
So that's my story. Not so funny, but it's got some funny elements.
I mean, I'm just glad you made it.
Yeah.
That's real sad, babe.
So what's your dumbest thing, Jen?
Well, again, yeah, a lot of my dumbest stories are not suitable for the 3-year-olds listening. So.
Yeah, we got to think about our audience.
Think about the audience. But the one I think that like really stands out to me is when I was in my early 20s and I had a white Dodge. Wasn't it a Dodge? Remember that? I didn't have that car for very long.
Wasn't it
That
a
car
Dodge?
did
Maybe
not
it was.
last
It was
very
a Pontiac
long.
or something like that, yeah.
No. The
It wasn't a
Pontiac
Pontiac.
lasted forever.
Well, the Pontiac was
the
green, but the
mean green Pontiac 6000 LE.
yeah, the other one might have been a Dodge.
Oh, that's my first car.
Yeah.
That car lasted forever. But the white car at one didn't last long. But I was at my mom's house.
What age are you in this?
I was in my early 20s. You know, the time in life when you know everything and your mom knows nothing.
Right.
I was securely planted in that age where I was the smartest person in my house, no question. And so my mom came out to talk to me when I was getting ready to go hang out with somebody. I don't know, probably you. Yeah. And I was driving away and she's like, Jennifer, stop, your car's on fire, Jennifer. And I could like see the smoke, but I was just so annoyed because I had to get to where I was going. And I mean, I'm sure I could drive with my car. I mean, was it really on fire? I mean, it felt like she was probably being a little dramatic. Like, sure, there was some smoke, but it felt at that time, like with me and all of my knowing and her and all of her drama, that there was no way my car was actually on fire.
Did you ever stop and check?
Yeah, well then, because she's like, please stop, there are flames, your car is on fire. So I was like, oh, fine, Mom. And I sure her stopping the car and then like slamming the door. I'm like, my car's on fire.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so.
And then what'd you do? Did you run?
I mean, yeah, because the car was on fire. But then it was fine. Like, the car was fine. It didn't like blow up or explode. It was just a little.
Fire.
but I think that was a lot. That might have been the last time I ever drove that car. Like, it was. I'm pretty sure.
And then you went to the Geostorm.
Then I went to the Geostorm. Yeah, I think that was the end of the Dodge. But the lesson that I should have learned that still took me a long time to learn was listen to your mom. Like, I was so sure that I knew everything and she knew nothing. But looking back, she's the one that knew. So I'm the one that didn't know anything.
Right. She was warning you.
And also, if anybody is ever like, please stop, your car is on fire, you should probably stop the car. Yeah. So dumb. That was incredibly
Well, I guess my learning
dumb.
is don't drink blue liquid from the bottom of a clear Coke bottle.
Yeah, for sure. Don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and
all you 3-year-olds out there.
And maybe just don't drink anything anybody refers to as skunk.
Okay. We'll follow those 2 rules.
Okay, guys, so that was your lesson for today. So now that you all are aware of the dumbest things that we have, well, quote unquote dumbest, there's way more, but we're just gonna
that's for another
leave
episode.
it at that. We're gonna hop in, Pat, now.
All right.
Completely go in a different direction with this podcast into Grace, parenting and child rearing. Marriage. Wait, parenting and child rearing. I think.
Okay.
Grace and marriage and parenting. So I have a question for you, Patrick.
Okay.
How do you think Grace has played a role in our marriage?
Yeah.
We kind of talked about this. Whoa, wait. Back it up. I think we already did that question. Yeah. Because I think that the question that we stopped on before, well, what has surprised you about this season we are in now? And how is it different from other seasons? Because I remember you talking about how the cost, like the expense, was a shock.
Yes.
So what would you like to say? I guess let's tell people that didn't listen last time what season we're in.
Okay.
And what would you like to tell people about this season that we're in?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, the season we're in is our kids are teenagers and growing. So we've got our first in college, and then basically every 2 years we'll be putting another in college. We have 4. So that is, kind of that, that is expensive, mentally taxing. We certainly find ourselves getting plenty of sleep. We can go out on plenty of dates.
Yeah.
We have a lot of freedoms that we didn't have when the kids were younger and when we were younger. But it's switched, right? Like the difficulty in rearing the children now has to do with navigating much more difficult waters that we don't know the answers, as opposed to when they were young. It's like it's a little bit more black and white, and we kind of knew, the answers. Or I mean, there's some that were tough, but now when a kid brings an issue, they're in college and dealing with something. The waters are much more murky, and wow, that was loud.
That was
Dang.
really
That
loud.
must have been
Sorry.
a good point. So listen to that one, everybody. And then the stage we're in is our parents are getting older. My parents, my dad's dead, and my mom's got dementia, and my parents are a bit older, and so we're dealing with that, and it's just that period where so much is happening to us. And the financial strain, as I think I was mentioning before, with the kids being out and having driver's license, the things I didn't think about was, they're just out and they're wanting to spending more money. You can't control it. You're divvying it out.
Well, I mean, you do control. Like they don't have unlimited access to the funds.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yes, but your control is less when they're out there in another city and they need money.
Yeah.
You're going to give them some money. So anyway, that's again going into the surprise. That was the surprise. Was I just didn't realize how expensive it would get once the kids were kind of doing their own things. I really hadn't given that thought. But
yeah, well, and they ask for a lot. Like when they're younger, it was more like you're at Target, and maybe they see something, and it's like no, and they handled that better. But now it's like these things that are more complicated because it's like, hey, all of my friends are going out, and you want them to hang out with their friends.
Right.
So it's like, well, you want them to be able to go get ice cream. And it's just, I don't know. It's more complicated than it's harder to say no to certain.
Or they want social media, which, is a really big one, right? And we've held off in some ways. And, what's the right answer?
Yeah.
Because, you want them to be part of all the social and communication methods that are going on with everybody today, but you don't want to, just let them loose in this kind of, world of.
It's another important point, obviously.
I don't know if we can turn that beeping off, but everybody's just going to enjoy.
That's what's going to go wrong.
Some really loud beeping throughout this. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you absolutely did. Well, and it just makes me think, too, that you said about the uniqueness of this season, maybe the surprises of this season. It's just so much more of a strain and a squeeze than I think we were anticipating from so many different areas. And the things that are being dealt with, they just feel more intense than they did. Like it was very exhausting physically when they were younger, but now there's just this kind of mental exhaustion and just so much more questioning.
Right.
Well, and even like thinking about the finances, like you want them to go out and get jobs and learn how to save money and be financially independent and responsible. But then there's also this element of like they're so busy and they're doing so many things
And they're young, and you want them to, have their freedom while they have it.
So you don't want them to come home every day from a whole day of school and theater or whatever and then head off to work and then work all weekend. Like they have to have their friends and their free time too. Right. So it's just a lot. So I appreciate what you said. I think we're doing a good job though. We're figuring it out.
Well, and that's the thing.
And we still have a lot of fun together.
Yeah, well, and that's what I mentioned at first was
that was a great
that, I mean, for us, I feel like, one, we can get sleep whenever we need it, which is pretty awesome. Not that our lives aren't super busy, but we don't have anybody crying and waking us up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody waking up at, 5:30 or 6 in the morning crying, although we do have a cat that is getting up at 5 in the morning and tapping us and trying to wake us up. So we do have that, but she can be diverted a little more easily than the kids. So I feel like from our standpoint, physically, it's great. I was thinking about it today. I was out, I can take a run. I can go on a run and not worry about where the kids are or anything like that because everybody's kind of self-sufficient. And there was a time when we had younger kids, that's just not happening. You're just too busy, you're exhausted, and you're in a period where, I mean, if you can get workouts in when your kids are young or do anything for yourself, that's a big win.
It sure is.
So, but now I feel like those things are aplenty, but then the mental part of it is where, it's just really taxing trying to figure out how to support your kids when they're at college, when they're dealing with friends, boyfriends, all that good stuff.
All the things.
That there's no definitive answer to a lot of these questions. And so it's just, a lot of prayer and discussion amongst us.
Yeah. And I think having good friends too, that we can talk to up when stuff does kind of feel a little wonky. Just knowing that we can trust them and pray with them and they'll pray for us and offer us just like their
I think sharing and being open about what you can with your friends, about your kids, that's not going to compromise your privacy with your children, I think is really helpful because one, we typically find out, we're not the only ones dealing with this. Two, you get a perspective that, maybe it fits what you were already thinking, maybe it doesn't. Either way, you're getting a more well-rounded view on kind of what to do. And then you have support from those folks, right? So then when your friends kind of know what's going on, with your kids, they can ask, and it feels, I generally think it feels much better to be in this with other people than to just feel like you're alone dealing with these.
Yeah, I agree.
These difficult issues with the kids. Because as we've talked a lot, and we might have mentioned on the first part, we're all kind of winging this. and
We're absolutely winging this. That's the craziest thing to grow up and find out.
Right. That your parents didn't have some set of rules and manuals that they were just rolling by, that they were winging it too. And so we're all winging it. And so I feel like when you admit that and when you're with your friends, at least you can come up with a better solution. To that.
Yeah, that's great. And grace, it's all about the grace, right? Because we're not going to get it right all the time. We've had to apologize to our children so many times. We've had to apologize to each other so many times. I mean, I think part of it is just also not being so prideful as a parent or as a spouse that you can't humble yourself and say, man, you didn't deserve that. I shouldn't have acted that way. And just being willing to always kind of clean up your side of the street. And I think that says a lot to the kids too, when we're like, hey, I'm sorry. Well, I shouldn't have acted that way. I was tired or not. I mean, not that that excuses it, but it just lets them know I'm human too. And I shouldn't have acted that way.
Right. And for me, maybe it's not a great thing that I've been apologizing all of their lives, but I
think it is.
But it also is, I've been, acting in manners that aren't necessarily appropriate all the time. So then I have to go apologize. Right. No, you're right. So, but with our kids, I definitely, I have a bit of anxiety and a little bit of a temper. And so I can be a yeller, not screaming and not degrading yelling, but just yelling. And when I get upset, and then I can remember since the kids were always just apologize and be all right, I made a mistake. And I do think, I do agree. I think that they see that as okay, as a vulnerability to wait, Dad makes mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I didn't feel that way, and I want our kids to know that we are not perfect and infallible, and that we do make mistakes. And when we make mistakes, we apologize for them. We try to correct them. We try to do better next time.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that about you yelling, because I can't even think of the last time I've heard you raise your voice.
Yeah.
Like, in all sincerity, like, I would have to seriously...
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot when they were younger, and you're just trying to, when you're trying to control a group, and it was just like,
Yeah.
So.
But, that's good stuff.
Or when Sophia, we would spend...
Sorry, Sophia.
When I would spend 30, 45 minutes,
Ding.
30, 45 minutes, getting her to bed. When she was little.
She was so
and she
hard
had all these routines.
Oh my gosh.
And we would do all the routines. And we had a baby at the time too. And so, we were trying to
like
get
lots of babies.
Right. And we were trying to get it all done. And also, again, where my issue came in was being super selfish at that time of night. I was just like, okay, just got to get to, and then I can have some free time. Anyways, inevitably, I'd put her to bed, a whole long routine, and then I'd walk out of the doorway, and then I'd stop, and I'd look around, and she was right there behind me. And like, now saying that, it's a super cute vision, but when I was in that, it was like there's a monster that just followed me. So that was a lot of them, and I'd yell at her to get back to bed, and then have to go in immediately and be like, I'm sorry. So.
Oh my gosh, I remember that so vividly.
Yeah, she did not like going to bed.
Cute little,
in her little nightgowns.
She didn't want to miss anything. She always reminded me of, oh my gosh, was it Growing Pains? Do you remember the episode where there was the little kid and she never wanted to go to bed because she felt like she was always missing something? So they set up this whole elaborate scene where they got out all of her toys.
No.
And so I never saw that. So when she came down the stairs, they were all playing with her toys, and she was like, I knew this is what you did.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Funny. Was that in the season that Leonardo DiCaprio was in it, or no?
I could only hope so.
Was he was in Growing Pains, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
So maybe that's why you remember that episode. So wow.
He probably was. I guarantee you, if we go find the episode, he was probably... It's like a big part of that. I'm gonna go back and find it.
Because I think he was added as a neighbor kid, right? Neighbor. Like to try to bring back ratings.
Adorable neighbor. So like it.
Yeah, I left it.
We've super digressed.
Sorry.
That's okay. I feel like anybody
people want to know about
Growing Pains. Just this is us, so this is what you're gonna get. Okay, back on track.
Yes.
Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
What are some habits or things we do that we have incorporated into our marriage that make it stronger? So what do you think that we do that makes our marriage stronger?
I'll start. So we do, it's been tough at times to go on dates. And so I'm not saying like we are super regimented and regular about dates.
We do pretty good.
But we focus on them. So when we do have time, we go on dates. And inevitably when we go on a date, we rate our relationship. And we've been doing that for a long time. And I think we're both pretty honest about it, and we know when things are kind of rough and when things are going pretty well.
Scale 1 to 10. That's it. It's 1 to 10. Where do you put us?
Right.
And then we have to say why.
Right. And then it just starts that discussion and opens things up. So I think that to me, that's one thing that jumps out.
Yeah. And the last 3 dates, what number have we been, babe?
I think we've been 9.
9. Both of us. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that again. That
doesn't always happen. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of stuff.
We're in a good spot.
There's a lot of things we had that we didn't plan. They're just naturally. I think we both tend to go to humor in situations
because we're so funny.
Right. I think we both appreciate a lot of the same thing, even though we're very different and we're almost opposite in some of the ways we handle things and the way we think about some things. But we enjoy a lot of the same stuff. And so, but again, those are all just natural things of our marriage that has made it easy because we can always kind of come back to those things that we enjoy doing. Going on walks regularly is something that over the last few years, really since the pandemic, has been a nice thing. Because what I find is I was just thinking about this when we were on a walk yesterday. We could go and be in the house. We could go to dinner, we could be and we could say very little to each other, right? Because we're talking about other things. We're really not...
Or business, or it's more business.
Right. We're just taking care of stuff. But when we go on a walk, there's just something about that is that, kind of side by side, you're not staring at each other in the face, you just kind of, it's conversational. And so I find that we do a lot of our kind of working through things and figuring things out when we're able to go on walks together. So.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Because like during the day, we're both working for the most part. So we don't want to bother each other. And then it's easy then when the kids are home to kind of focus on the business of what has to be done, what's happening tonight.
And then at night.
And then we have family. I would say one of the things, too, is I think, well, this is like not only our marriage, but also our family as a whole. We've made dinner time a priority for always. Like that has always been a priority for us.
Yeah.
We sit down at the table and we have dinner together. We usually do highs and lows or prayer requests and praises. And I feel like we find out more about each other's day and about the kids' days when we do that. And I feel like that's something that keeps us connected in such a busy season.
Totally, that is one that we planned. I remember before we were ever married talking about that, and certainly when we got married and started ready to have kids, we talked about our approach to dinner and that we were going to see that as kind of the central kind of gathering point of our days, and we've stuck to it. And the funny thing is, so we have kind of a formal dining room where that's where we have like dinner if we're gonna, and then we have our kitchen island where we are right now, which is more of the informal, hey, we're gonna watch TV dinner. But the funny thing is the kids, they all want to do the informal because it's like, oh, we're gonna watch TV and it's gonna be like late, I think it's just that natural, like it's not as formal. But then inevitably we all sit down and then we talk.
It's just
the same.
It's the same, but we're just now staring at each other.
We're just in a different format. Maybe it's kind of like walking, because you're not staring at each other, across from each other. You're just kind of side by side, and it's like that driving in a car, walking, or whatever. It's just you feel a little more open to kind of talk about things. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just thinking about that literally right now.
Yeah.
But it is funny that when we sit here and have the TV on, we all just talk over it.
It's just a louder conversation.
Right. So we should probably just stick to the dining room. But yeah, I agree. Again, in my family growing up, that was something that was really big. Everything that got discussed happened at the dinner table. So many funny memories and things like that you just wouldn't have. At least I feel like I wouldn't have if it wasn't around the dinner table. And so, that's a great one. That is for our whole family.
And that's for our whole family, too. But I think it also keeps us connected. And I would say, too, with our marriage, when we have our faith, we have our shared faith.
Yes, absolutely.
And we have very similar, I think, we're different, like you said. Like I always say, you're the yin to my yang. We have a lot of differences, but our core beliefs are the same. Yeah, our core longings and our faith, and just the way we kind of view things. I think
our worldview. I would say our belief system.
Yeah.
And then our our goals.
Yeah,
I think are all aligned.
That anchor, in this, I think of just all of the different things, even the stuff that we're going through now. We just continue to go back to our anchor and our faith, and it's kind of no matter what hits, we know ultimately we're going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that, I think about specific to our marriage, we dated for almost 8 years.
Yeah, long time.
And that was purposeful because we both came from divorced families and we both had made commitments individually before we ever met each other that we weren't going to get married and get divorced. And again, not saying anything against it, but we were both clearly dead set because of our own experiences with it. And so when we got together, I think both of us, we worked through so much stuff, and there were certainly pre-marriage. There were so many times that we probably were like, "Oh, is this?" And then, but working through all that, and then again, what really solidified it was coming to Christ and having faith. That then we both, I think, felt comfortable. This. Yeah. Because all those other things were in place. We had fun together. We saw the world the same, but we didn't have that binding faith. Yeah. To kind of keep us on the straight track.
Right. And I know that's to say, we have a lot of loved ones that their marriages ended, and no shame or judgment or anything at all.
No.
At all.
Personal experience and personal commitment. And again, no judgment. Again, it was just something as a kid that was certainly traumatizing to me and to you enough that we were like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually for a long time was like, I'm never getting married. It doesn't work. Like I remember I felt that way. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
know I got us off track there, but I feel like we worked through a lot of stuff early on that also helped solidify what we have now.
Which I would say to if there's anybody young, I mean, not 3,
No.
maybe a little older than 3, listening, that's not married or dating, you know, in the dating scene or just single. I do think it's so important to just constantly be seeking your own healing, which is something I think we've both pursued. And I think, you know, constantly seeking your own healing throughout your life and helps then when you come together with somebody, because you're not relying on them to fill things that they were never supposed to fill. Right. They were never theirs.
Right, they don't complete you. Again, one of the greatest things that resonates with, I know we talked about this, because when we were going through marriage counseling, our pastor at the time, Jeff Krajewski, when we met with him, I believe the first time, made a pretty profound statement, which was, marriage is not 50-50, it's 100-100. And each partner just gives everything they can to the other and lets everything fall where it might. Basically, if you give it all, most likely you're going to get it all back. Your partner's going to want to do that too. But if you both try to draw lines of, where is that 50? Oh, I'm giving a little bit more. I mean, that's where it all gets entangled.
Oh, gosh. Because then it's like a tit for tat. Right. It's like, well, I did this much this week. How much did you do? Right. And giving 100 is going to look different in different seasons. And that's the beauty of it. That's one of the ways I describe our marriage. It's this beautiful dance of give and take. And there might be a week where I'm more depleted because of work or the kids or I'm sick. And in that week, my 100% isn't going to look the same as it does in a week where I'm just full of energy and the calendar's not as full and just things aren't coming at me so much. And the same for you. Like if you're traveling or you have a big work project or, maybe your mom's not doing well, you have to get to Fort Wayne. Like there are certain things that your 100% is going to look different, but it's not, there's not a measuring stick. There's not a tallying. There's not a keeping record of what each person has done and trying to make sure that they're like measuring up. It's just, and it's great because I know that about you. Like I know you give your everything to I'm telling you, this is the truth. Anybody that has been around Patrick with me and our children, they say it every time. Like he gives everything to our family, and it's very apparent to people. And it's really a gift because I don't think everybody is like that.
Well, no, I definitely agree that it's a gift because it's not. If I was having to make myself do that, it would probably last 2 days, right? it wouldn't stick around. I will say a couple things that come to mind is, I totally agree. Like the 100% could look different. It also looks very different. Like if you know us as a couple, I mean, the way we give 100% to each other is very different than another couple is going to give 100%. Just because what I do and the way we've formed and the things that we do for each other are unique to us. And so that's another thing. I think sometimes people see that and they're like, oh, wait, they should do that or they should do that. No, it's just, I think if each person in your heart knows you're giving everything you can and taking care of the stuff and watching out and looking out for the feelings and trying to understand your spouse, that's where it's at.
Yeah, and not being afraid to ask for what you need or talk about what's not working. Like I feel like there's also a constant dialogue that's happening. Yeah.
And then again, giving lots of grace for when things don't go quite right, because it's not like we've had these points. I probably say it's been a handful in the last 10 years where things get so stressful that somehow we do start keeping it. It's like, wait, and then we usually have a conversation like, no, we're not going to keep track. Let's just go. But I mean, it's not like we're immune to that, but I think we're really good at moving past recognizing that. Wait. Let's not start tracking who's doing what. Let's just, each give our own. And it's been tough because our lives are changing too. Back to the season of life. I mean, we're in a season of life where our kids are all older, and you were at home with them, and your primary job was raising them and taking care of the house.
Yeah.
And now that's shifting. And so my 100% looks a bit different, and it needs to. And your 100% looks a bit different because you're no longer just giving to the kids or to me, you're giving to a career. And so that goes right to grace, which is we've encountered points where it's like, you get frustrated, I get frustrated. And then we turn around and we just got to give each other grace because we've never been here before.
No. Well, that's the biggest thing. Life is constantly changing. And people need to be able to change. We need to let the people we love change. And we need to let our circumstances change as they do and not hold tightly. I think that's a big thing too, is just allowing for change and growth and trying to figure out how to move with life as it's moving and not hold on to, well, this is how it's always been and this is how we do it.
Yeah.
That's one of the big reasons at the beginning of the podcast that I talk about people's spiritual habits and practices, because just like you said, with a marriage and family, everybody's different and there are different ways that we connect. There are different ways that we meet with the Lord. There are different ways we connect in our marriage, given a season, with our children, depending on the season. But you have to allow for that flow.
Yeah. It's always changing, right? I mean, you get into some nice zones where it's like, oh, this is pretty stable and we're good, but it changes around the corner. And so adaptability, and again, grace goes right with that because I think whenever something changes, I know for me, just whether it's my anxiety or whatever, like I can approach it with, not necessarily the best attitude, but I've certainly have learned to quickly adjust that and figure out what this new situation is going to bring and how I'm going to act differently.
Oh, I love it. So the last question, which we kind of talked, well, maybe we didn't totally talk about this, but this is more digging into the kids. What are some of the ways that you think we offer our children grace? It's kind of a hard one.
I mean, well, we don't hold, obviously, I mean, I think most parents do this. I mean, certainly don't hold grudges. We don't, like, if they did something the night before, we're not continuing to talk about that. So I think that's one, and you're really good at that. I certainly, coming into the marriage, was not so good about just leaving everything behind. But, in terms of like pulling up old errors or old issues into a current argument, and you've been really good about kind of helping me work through that. And so I think we do that with the kids. We don't bring up old stuff with them and burden them with things they did 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago. So I think we give them grace by just having a conversation in the moment and then moving on past that. To me, that's part of it.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think, too, that, I mean, I'm just curious, because I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but do you look at them and, like, kind of remember what it was like to be that age? Do you think that helps?
Yeah, it helps, but our lives are so different.
Yeah.
I mean, than our kids' lives.
Oh my gosh, they're so different. They're crazy different, the stuff that they deal with and the stuff that they have. And
you're right, the world around them and their worlds. And
maybe that makes us give them more grace sometimes.
Definitely.
Can't even begin to know.
Yeah. Absolutely. When it comes to, again, what they're dealing with, online or social media or at school, even it's a lot of it, we don't recognize it. But I think continuing to forgive, try to understand what they're going through. And again, they don't have the same experiences that we were having back again in the 90s when things were, I mean, but so my son.
Carefree time, wasn't it?
So Patrick, who's
bicycles and popsicles, that's what I think of.
He's in 6th grade and we were talking about things and I was just thinking about like how he lives his life mostly. I mean, he goes outside, but he's inside. He goes to a friend's house, they play inside. And I just think, but he's always somewhere. And when I was in 6th grade, I was nowhere. I was riding my bike in parks, and I was never home. I was never really at a house. I was always
drinking Skug.
No. I was not drinking any Skug in 6th grade. I learned, Jen, but I was never home. I would be out with my buddies, and so it's just that
you were
dynamic.
Causing trouble in New Haven, Indiana.
Not in 6th grade yet, but I wasn't being watched. My time was with my friends. My influence was much more with my friends. And again, our kids, they don't have as much of that. I think all kids today have a bit different life. They're not just roaming the streets like we were.
Maybe they should be, though. Maybe we need to get them out there roaming the streets more.
We have to take away phones, Jen.
Well, yeah. We have the digital detox coming up.
Okay, maybe that's the time.
They're super excited about that. Our church
do
does a digital detox in May, which has been really great for our family, but
the kids don't love it.
They don't love it. They're not so excited about it.
When they're older, they'll love that they have
They'll be glad
different
they
skill
did
sets
it.
from
that time.
doing it. Yeah.
Well, Patrick, is there anything else before we close? Before we give our cliffhanger, because you will be on again, so we're just gonna.
I'm a repeat guest.
We already talked about that last time. Because remember, you were like right out of the gate. You're like, well, maybe next time, and that's when I realized mentally, like, oh,
it was like days ago. I've forgotten that already.
Well, you're my guest, like maybe every other week.
Maybe we can do this together and interview people. Love it, and we can interview people.
It's so fun. Yeah. And just ask them like off the wall questions.
Maybe we'll workshop that.
Okay. So, is there anything else that you want to say before we close about grace and parenting and marriage? Anything that you can think of?
No, but you just tapped my leg like you want me to say something.
No, I didn't mean to tap you.
I thought that was a signal that I better have something.
I was grabbing onto the end of the.
I thought it was a sign that I better have something
hilarious.
Deep to say. No, thank you, Jen, for having me on. Seriously,
you're welcome.
It's a privilege to be on here and to be talking to your audience, and it's a privilege to be married to you, frankly. So.
Aw, that's the sweetest.
Yeah.
Babe, it's a privilege to be married to you, and thank you for my cat's right here now. Thank you for your willingness to do this, because I know we talked about it being a bit out of your comfort zone, so I'm really grateful.
Yeah, I don't love being on camera. So.
But, well, you've done a great job, and you're so cute, and people can see how cute you are. Okay, so what's our cliffhanger going to be for the next time? Probably should have come up with that. What's a good question? Let's see. How about if you could travel to any place during any period of time, where would you go and when? Like what time period? Okay?
Can it be in the future?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, for sure. Like any. Like it is like any time period. If you could go, and why? Why would you choose that?
Okay.
So, folks.
Who knows when we'll get back to this one?
Who knows? But you're gonna find that out at some point. Thanks for being here, friends. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in to the Return to Jesus podcast, and I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Bye, everybody.
Excited to share with you that I have written a book titled Return to Jesus, an invitation to abide with him in every beautiful, stressful, or tedious moment. It is a dream come true, and I could not be more thrilled to share with you that this book is available online at stores such as Target, Walmart, Amazon, Christian Books, and more. The book will be available on April 15th, 2025 to purchase in-store as well. And I just really appreciate your support. It means the world to me. I could not do this without you. And I'm just so very grateful. So be sure to grab your copy today. Again, it's Return to Jesus, an invitation to abide with him in every beautiful, stressful, or tedious moment.